Hi, Sarah. Lovely to see you. As ever, always a delight to see you. You might be surprised that today it's just you and me in conversation.
I know, it's exciting because normally, right, when we chat most days because we're sisters. I don't know whether people know that, but we are. But most days we have our kids around as well, and it's either really noisy or they're doing show and tell to each other. So I do have something to show and tell you though.
Oh,
It's
right.
not, yeah. I just thought for anyone out there who might want to know something about us as sisters.
Oh, no. Is it an embarrassing
I've got a little trivia. What unites us? So the question is, what do we both absolutely love? And you can tell that we're sisters because we love it so much. And then one thing that you just think, why we're so different? Why would this?
Well, the thing that we're so different on is that anyone who knows both of us would know that you just do art and craft all the time, and that is my least favourite activity.
Yeah, look what I've been making this week, pom-poms. This is something you would never do. So that's why would you be sisters? You would never join together and about those together. So well done. What's the thing that definitely unites us as sisters then, apart from Jesus?
Oh no. What's the answer?
Give you a clue. I'll hold it up slowly.
Okay. Cornflakes.
We're both cornflake snobs. We just love Kellogg's. I've been training myself to like Aldi, and then lockdown happened and you can't get Aldi cornflakes, and I'm back on Kellogg's.
That's true. To be honest, yesterday I went to the supermarket and bought 4 boxes of cornflakes because it was a panic station that yesterday there were no cornflakes. No, sadly not. Yeah, but just so for people who are listening, let us say, so you've talked about children. Who are your children? How many children do you have?
I'm married to David, and we have 3 children. Toby is 5, nearly 6, and Emily and Sam are 4. They're twins.
And we are actually from Dorset, the very south of England, but you are living in Newcastle.
That's right, and you're not living in this country. You're living in America.
Exactly. I'm in Illinois with Jonathan, my husband, and my 2 sons, Rufus and Billy, who are very similar age to your crowd. So when we all get together, it's a fun crowd.
Lovely.
But I am a very proud sister because you have just written this book, and I think that even if I wasn't your sister, I would be very excited about this book because I think it's brilliant and it is very necessary for the world of parenting, and particularly that antenatal first few months of parenting. But I do think it's grounding for the whole parenting trajectory. So I'm really grateful that you have laboured over it and God has given you the grace to be able to do it, even while you're surrounded by 3 fairly hyperactive children. So well done. So the book says, the way you've described it is as an antenatal class for the heart. And I think maybe we should just outline what that means. So what do you mean by an antenatal class for the heart?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question, isn't it? So in this country, we have antenatal classes before you have a baby, where they kind of try and help you to prepare for that. In the States, I think it's a prenatal class. It's a similar thing. And whilst they can be helpful, we've had one very unhelpful experience and one really helpful experience. And whilst there's a ton of information out there as you prepare for having a child, whether you're pregnant, whether you're in the adoption process, wherever you are on your journey, there's so much information. There's a cascade of opinions, of philosophies, of resources. But actually, what the Bible says is, and what we need is, we need to prepare our hearts. So there's a verse in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, and it says, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. And essentially what I've tried to do in this book, and what I think we need as parents to do before any of this other information comes into play, is to guard our hearts. And the way to do that is to look at Jesus and see what he gives us as Christian parents on this journey. And then that kind of gives you not only a lens to which to look through everything else with, as we kind of view it from that perspective, but it also helps us to realise what's important and what's not, and it kind of helps you to kind of sift through all the information with your kind of gospel glasses on. So that's really what the intention of the book has been to do, to kind of encourage parents who are expecting, or wherever you are on that journey, to be thinking about this first, not just have the Bible as a kind of tag on at some point, but actually to kind of start with preparing your heart and then everything else from there.
I love that we would be equipped with those gospel glasses to look at the, as you say, the ocean of parenting resources.
Not even it's so overwhelming.
It's overwhelming, isn't it? I remember when I've been very fortunate to have just done it a little bit after you, all this parenting business. So Sarah is a very organised individual, and she sends me lists of things that I need at different stages of parenting. So I feel like this book is just like, well, I wish you'd written it, actually, to be honest, before I had my first child. But
well, that's one. I mean, but that's one of the reasons I've written it now, isn't it? Because actually, what did I really want to read when I was having Toby? I would have loved to have read something like this, and this kind of prompted me to write it, because actually, as you and then other friends and church family, and then other people just started to ask me, well, what should we be reading? And I couldn't really, there was just nothing I could recommend that I think, actually, just for this season, this is what you need. There's a ton of wonderful parenting books out there, and we're so grateful for parenting books right now in the thick of parenting preschoolers and primary schoolers that are kind of, just really, really helping us. But actually, there's nothing for the season of well, do you know what? I'm not disciplining my child right now. I'm just trying to get through the night, and this is a really, really new world of being a feeding machine, and I don't really know what it looks like to kind of parent a baby who doesn't yet respond to me and talk to me. And I think it is a very unique season, and I kind of saw the need for it in that way.
Well, so one of the things I really love about the book is that you are pulling us through. You're not just giving us kind of wise advice, you're actually pulling us through a book of the Bible. So you Colossians is the kind of the grid through which the whole thing is written, it seems. And I love that you're taking us deep down into that letter. I feel like by the time you get to the end of the book, you have a better grasp of what Colossians is saying. And wonderfully, because it is Colossians, we have a bigger picture of Jesus and the cross. So just quickly, so why Colossians? And why is it that you've chosen just one letter to kind of anchor the book in?
Yeah, thanks. I think there's probably two kind of reasons there. Firstly, the context of the Colossian Christians. So Paul was writing this letter to a group of Christians in Colossae, and their kind of real challenge was being tempted to think that Jesus wasn't quite enough, that he was great and he was brilliant, but I just need something else as well. The kind of Jesus plus mentality, the Jesus and something else. And it doesn't take that long to, as a new parent or as a seasoned parent, to realise that is always our temptation, to think, well, I do love Jesus, and I know that my identity is based in him. But you know what? If I just had more sleep, that would just really help. Mm-hmm. Or if I just wasn't in lockdown right now, I would be a much better parent, because I wouldn't have the intensity of my kids around me 24/7 for an indefinite period. I think that's been definitely my temptation over the last few weeks. So just seeing how pertinent that context is and how very similar it is to the world of a new parent, I think just really helped me to think, well, actually this is gold dust. This is something we can really help people to see their context. But then also, just why Colossians and only Colossians? I'm just a massive fan of dwelling on one book deeply for a while and really letting those truths kind of sink in and just kind of deeply affect your heart, not just surface, but actually deeply affect your heart in different ways. So actually, as you're mulling the truth and you're getting to grips with the book, the letter, you're then starting to kind of remember it as you're out and about, and you're starting to kind of really live it because it's in your head. I mean, I've been able to do that over the last year as I've been writing it. It's been wonderful to just be in Colossians. Not that all the other books aren't helpful in the Bible, of course they are, but I think there's real value and just zooming in on one.
Yeah, and that's a really help, especially if you are just at the start of the parenting thing where your time is at a premium. So if you've got the word hidden in your heart, and any way of making that happen is always.
And Paul's words in that book are, let the word dwell richly. And so my prayer for people who are reading this isn't that, I wonder, what did Sarah say before in her book? No. My prayer is, do you know what? I just need to open Colossians again, because I know that's where I can find what I need right now. So it very much is wanting to equip parents that open Colossians in this season, get to know it and love it, and see the word at work in your hearts through it.
So in your so one of the really helpful early on chapters is you talk about the various threats to the new parent's heart. So we're running a little short on time, so I'll just outline quickly. You have the one-click thing, you have the measuring up thing, you have the idea that your identity is just in being a mum, and I really think the chapter is brilliant in analysing kind of where the threats come. Do you want to just kind of outline just one example of that? So how?
Yeah, so it's these philosophies that can easily take us captive in our hearts, basically. And what I've tried to do is outline some threats to our hearts so that parents can just quickly kind of notice what's going on in a situation. So, for example, am I measuring up philosophy? We sat there, like when the twins were babies, when Rufus was a baby, we sat there feeding our babies together. Rufus was really struggling to feed. It was really hard. I had 2 babies, and it wasn't the struggle in that, but I was also struggling because I was like, my goodness, I'm just exhausted. I've literally got
on every other level, having 2 babies at the same
time. Where there was such temptation there for both of us to be in that am I measuring up philosophy, wasn't there, straight away, and for that to kind of disrupt our relationship, but also our relationship with God and how we view ourselves as mums in that early season. So just trying to outline the threats is a way for people to just stop in their tracks and go, do you know what, I am measuring myself with someone else or something else at the moment. What do I need to do in that moment? I need to notice my heart, and I need to run to Jesus and ask him to help me in that, and run to the cross. So it's just kind of helping people again to see to see where they've been taken captive by these philosophies that ultimately don't give them what they need in this season.
Yeah.
And run to Jesus with that.
Yeah. So what you do, as you've said, is you outline those things, and then you take us to the centre point, the pivot point really in Colossians is the cross, and then you have the second half of the book really is an outworking of what it looks like to live that cross-centered life, doesn't it, in the midst of the parenting thing. So the word, prayer, community, and those kind of things. Could you just, we've just got a few minutes, just give us one kind of example of how the cross changes or challenges those threats and changes the way that you live out those things?
I just think it brings real freedom, because I think this stage of new parenting can be a treadmill of anxieties about different things going on. And actually what the cross does, and what we kind of see at the cross, is Jesus saying, I've taken it, I've taken your sin, past, present and future, and you are alive, you are forgiven, I have triumphed over it, and you can live in light of that. Your identity is in me, I'm totally hidden in Jesus. And so whatever the world is throwing at me, whatever my circumstances are throwing at me, I can rest securely in Jesus. And that helps me actually to be really, then to freely live out this stage. Like it's hard, but it helps me to see that there's value in every moment, that the kind of gospel brings hope into every moment of my day. As I'm serving my child at 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm feeling exhausted, well, actually, I can depend on Jesus in that moment. As I glance at my child, halfway through the day and go, I can't keep going. I haven't got any company to keep me going on this. Jesus is with me because his Spirit is with me. I can do that because of the cross. Right, so I think it just kind of shapes every moment of your day when you know that you are kind of rooted in the gospel and rooted in the cross. And again, that's the hope. Really, the book being pivoted around the cross is that we see that, and therefore can rejoice in that, even though this stage of parenting is hard. It's a big thing.
Yeah. And I think what's really helpful, at the start you say, be reading this together as new parents. So this isn't just for the mum to kind of equip herself, but actually how helpful for both parents to be thinking along these lines and to be helping each other, to be pointing each other to the cross. And so I think that's a really it can feel quite a lonely thing, this pregnant newborn kind of thing. I thought one of the in your second half of the book you helped us think through a bit of what it looks like to do that in the community, the kind of cross-centered living in community. Could you just give us just a couple of pointers along those lines? I was thinking that one of the big things is the temptation to just kind of hunker down and do it on your own and just get through it until your child is, able to nap. at the right time, or whatever you're thinking.
And actually, yeah, that's never going to happen. Like, you know, life gets busier and busier and busier as parenting goes on. If you don't instill community, and church community in particular, from the word go, it's going to get harder to do. I know that's different in this season. We're in COVID-19, aren't we? We're not meeting, we're not gathering as churches at the moment. And I know that brings a lot of worry for parents, expectant parents now, like what life is going to look like. But actually, it's prioritizing community now when you're pregnant, when you're expecting your child, and whatever stage you're at. What does it look like to bring others into the journey and say, can you pray for us in this? So maybe it's even reading this book with your spouse and then going, do you know what, why don't we ask another couple in our home group to just keep us accountable on being in community. If they see that we don't turn up to a Zoom home group in the next few weeks, actually they have permission to ask us, like, what's going on? Like, you know, can we help? Can we bring some food around? Can we just giving permission to be your church family and to do that with you? I think it's just really, really important.
Yeah. So we need to wrap it up, really. But as you've been writing this, and I've been privileged enough to kind of be witnessing you write it and to hear you.
I know, and I'm really sorry that I didn't acknowledge you. I read the acknowledgements this morning.
I
was like,
think that myself.
Why is she not in that?
And I'm not in it.
I'm really sorry about that. I'm acknowledging it right here, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Public declaration, thanks.
Yeah.
So I've seen your heart be shaped and changed through this. I think it's been quite a healing process in many ways. And I think that's been wonderful to watch. Could you just, we've got maybe 3 minutes. How has it changed your heart? And I guess out of that, what are the prayers that you have as the book gets released into the world?
Yeah, well, it's no surprise, is it, that if you write a book on the heart, it's going to feel like a dagger in your own heart at times. It has been a pretty grueling process on my own heart. And I think there's been a number of home groups where I've turned up and gone, do you know what, guys, I just feel like I've been battered this week by the word of God as I've seen my sin and seen my need for Jesus. But that is why I've written it, because actually it's about the heart, isn't it? And I'm wanting people to see that actually this season you are going to see your sin. You're going to see the circumstances kind of come in different ways, but that is all the more reason to rejoice in Jesus and glory in who he is and what he's done. That's been the case for me. As you say, it's been a healing process. I've struggled with my mental health a little bit in the last couple of years, but since Toby was born, really. But it's come to a head over the last couple of years, and this book has definitely been, I would never have thought I would be writing about early parenthood those years ago. So it's been good for my heart. What's my prayer? My prayer is, Paul's prayer in this letter is that the Colossians' hearts would be encouraged, and that is ultimately my prayer through reading Colossians, through reading this book, that parents would be encouraged in their hearts to trust Jesus with the big stuff and the small stuff, with everything in between stuff, and to know that he is with them, and that is an exciting, beautiful journey ahead, one where they're going to see more of Jesus and his grace, and what a wonderful thing. So that, ultimately my prayer is that hearts would be encouraged in Jesus.
Oh, I'll be praying that with you. I'm so excited for it to get into that.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
All the more excited because you're my sister. Thank you so much, Sarah. Always a
all right, take care.
Yeah, speak to you soon. Bye bye.